moving on to our final story here. Stephen A. Smith, sports commentator. Every now and then, though, you will see him on CNN or Fox News giving political commentary. Funny how that happens. But he said something recently, and we're going to go ahead and give him some kudos for what he said about Hillary Clinton. If you have not heard, Hillary Clinton is once again smearing Trump supporters. It appears she didn't learn anything from 2016. We can't play the video because of copyright, but I am going to read what was said here. This is from Prem Thakur. Stephen A. Smith on Hillary Clinton telling undecided voters to get over yourself. So she was talking about undecided voters. She's also criticized Trump voters before in the past as well. You know, she's a very prude woman there. We're going to go ahead and get into what Stephen A. Smith had to say about Hillary Clinton's comments. And then we're going to go back and look at some things that Hillary Clinton has said before in the past and how this actually connects to the class issue. Remember, most of us are not a part of Hillary Clinton's class. Always remember that. And then we're going to show you some things that Stephen A. Smith said in reference to this 2024 election that show you why they bring on people like Stephen A. Smith on CNN to give his opinion. Let's dive in.
I don't think it was a very wise statement on her part. How did that work out for her in 2016? I think that's something that we have to recognize. Yes, she won the popular vote, but at the end of the day, she wasn't the president of the United States. It was him. You can look at her not campaigning in Wisconsin in the last days, not campaigning in Pennsylvania in the last days. You can look at some of the stuff that they were saying about her that sort of distracted things from where it should have been in terms of Comey and his report from the FBI. You can bring up a whole bunch of things, but at the end of the day, the last thing you need to do is to do anything that could agitate a potential voter in this particular election.
And that's exactly what Hillary Clinton is doing. She did it in 2016. She was the candidate. She's not the candidate this time around, and she is doing it again, blaming the voters. Stephen A. Smith is not supporting Joe Biden or Donald Trump. He has said this publicly. He doesn't think either one of them would be a good fit. I do not support Joe Biden or Donald Trump either. I don't support either one of those two parties as well. So what's really interesting here is that he's saying this on CNN. You got to remember, they love Hillary Clinton on CNN. They love Hillary Clinton on MSNBC. They love bringing her on and picking her brain, asking her her opinion. Now, Hillary Clinton made those statements. What's the guy's name on the Tonight Show? What's that guy's name? Oh, Jimmy Fallon. Forgot about him. She made those statements on the Jimmy Fallon show. And it's really interesting to me how many times and how many people go to this woman for political advice when she is a loser. This woman has lost 2 presidential elections. Why do you continue to ask her about her opinion about what people should do in reference to electoral politics? I don't get it. I never understood this. I've said it before. If you want to win, you have to actually ask someone who is a winner, not someone who is a loser. As we used to do in the loser, like not someone who is a loser, but they continue to go to this woman because she supports the status quo. Think about that for a second. If you want to win, what would you do? You would go ask someone who is a winner, not a loser.
Think about the actual argument that she's making. I mean, she's basically saying 2 old people, yes, but they're substantively different. I mean, Trump has 91 counts against him.
Well, listen, nobody's brought that up more than me. 4 indictments, 91 counts, impeached twice. I'm not voting for him. I've said that to a lot of.
Pause. So they're bringing up Trump's indictments, which, yep, that is an issue. But just because you were indicted, right? That's one thing. Joe Biden may not have been indicted, but that doesn't mean that Joe Biden hasn't done criminal acts as well. Let's go back to, we all still got to remember, Tara Reid is still trying to fight back against Joe Biden and the Biden administration. She's still stuck in Russia because she can't come back to the United States because she has already been warned by Congressman Matt Gaetz that she could be detained if she comes back to this country. Never forget how they tried to silence people like Tara Reid. Did Joe Biden go to trial? He had an accusation. Tara Reid came out publicly about Joe Biden. Has there been a trial? No. Does that mean that he's innocent? No. The point is, there was no trial, period. So the same people were saying, hold Trump accountable for his financial dealings, hold him accountable for January 6th, whatever. Fine, hold people accountable, but hold both of them accountable. Both of them. So there's that. There's also the business dealings in Ukraine with Joe Biden. So just because someone has not been indicted doesn't mean that they're not a fucking criminal. Keep that in mind. Both of them are corrupt.
People. I've said that to you. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that at some point in time, you got to take into account what the voters thinking about. The voters, a lot of them out there, tens of millions of them out there, by the way, don't care what he's going through right now. They don't care about his guilt or innocence, his perceived guilt or innocence. They don't care about the 91 counts. They're thinking about their lives. And a lot of times we see politicians taking the positions that they're taking. And while we can respect their candor and their honesty, they do seem a bit detached at times from what the voters are actually feeling and what the vote
pushback. I don't know about politician honesty. I don't know about honesty, but he has a point here about how the voters feel.
Innocence is perceived guilt or innocence. They don't care about the 91 counts. They're thinking about their lives. And a lot of times we see politicians taking the positions that they're taking. And while we can respect their candor and their honesty, they do seem a bit detached at times from what the voters are actually feeling and what the voters are actually thinking. Nobody wants to hear that from Hillary Rodham Clinton at this particular moment in time, because especially if you're Joe Biden, what are you really worried about right now? You're worried about folks coming to the polls. You're worried about them showing up to the polls to vote for you. You're not worried even about them voting for Trump. You're worried about them not showing up to vote for you. That doesn't exactly encourage them to get up out of their seats and go to the polls.
He's right. No, it doesn't encourage them to do that. And another thing I want to add as well is that what I think is really interesting when he said they're not listening to what the voters want, I would add, and this is probably why Stephen A is on and not someone like me. I would add, but they have no problem listening to what their donors want. They're not listening to what the voters want because they're listening to what their donors want, what the donor class wants. And you can't forget that piece. But Hillary Clinton has done this before. Let's go back to 2016 with the deplorables comment. This is why I say she has not learned. This is why this woman is a loser and not a winner. Let's dive into that.
Donald Trump wasn't the only one making questionable statements tonight. Listen to Secretary Clinton at a fundraiser here in New York.
Be grossly generalistic. You could put half of Trump's supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. But that.
Pause. See how she made a generalization about an entire group of people? Everyone that voted for Donald Trump is racist and homophobic and sexist, and all of them? Really? Don't you guys remember SNL did a skit about this with Dave Chappelle? I guess this when SNL was still funny. And Dave Chappelle was like, right, when they made fun of the results in 2016, remember Dave Chappelle was making fun of how the liberals were thinking and not really in touch with what the American people wanted? This is a part of Hillary Clinton's class. Most of us are not a part of Hillary Clinton's class. This is how all of them talk. I'm telling you from experience. I worked with people like this. I worked with the elite Harvard professors, with the MIT scientists, with the Boston University businessmen that were also professors. I worked with these people. And I'm here to let you know, this is what they really think. When Hillary Clinton calls those people deplorables, that is exactly what she thinks about you. She doesn't think you're educated enough. She doesn't think that you went to the right institutions to be knowledgeable enough to realize what you're voting for or what you're voting against. She's classist. She's rude. She's prudish. This is exactly how that group feels. And she's not alone. They will make these types of comments. They consider you to be beneath them because you don't have the credentials that they have. And more importantly, you don't have the money that they have, and you don't live in the right zip code. This is the white moderate that MLK warned you about. They smile in your face. They'll tell you that they love, we love equality and unity. But the same people like Hillary Clinton, these are the same people that freak out if a black person moves into their neighborhood. And then they got to vet you. They got to vet you to make sure you're legit or you're good enough to be in the area. That's the Hillary Clintons. The woman who called the police on the black guy who was bird watching in Central Park in New York City was a Hillary Clinton supporter. So I'm trying to tell you. What did Malcolm X say? Liberals are the most dangerous thing in the Western Hemisphere. That was Hillary Clinton letting you know exactly how she feels about those types of people. And there was this common misconception that all Trump supporters were lower class, like hillbilly, racist people. And that is not the case. Some of those same people voted for Barack Obama twice, and turned around and voted for Donald Trump because of the economic issues. So now all of a sudden, those same people turned against black people. No, they voted for Obama, some of them twice. But this is the elitist attitude that Hillary Clinton represents. And there's a lot of them out there like that. So she'll smile in your face. She'll brag about having hot sauce in her purse and all that jazz. Pander to black people. But she will never see you the same as she sees herself. Never forget that. She will always still know and feel that you are beneath her. This is one of the problems with the professional managerial class. Let's go on. Whoop.
But that other basket of people are people who feel the government has let them down. The economy has let them down. Nobody cares about them.
Hillary Clinton, when she called them deplorables. So never forget that. And she's still out here running her mouth, calling people names. The people who don't want to support Joe Biden, get over yourself. Would you say that to Palestinian Americans, Hillary Clinton, who have lost entire family lines of people in Gaza? Would you go up to them and tell them, get over yourself? This is who people wanted for president? But Stephen A., he's not totally out of the Democrat camp, because I want to take you to what he said to Sean Hannity. This was 6 months ago. He may not want Joe Biden. He may not want Donald Trump, but he still wants a Democrat. Listen to this.
Trump guy, you're not a Biden guy, and you're a Gavin Newsom guy.
No.
Okay, well, that's true.
Well, listen, here's the truth. Okay. When I talked about Biden, what I said was, in the class, and to clarify my statement, because I saw how you led with it or whatever, I'm no fan of Trump because of how he conducts himself. I've told you that. I don't even get into politics, how he conducts himself. He's like a petulant child. I can't stand it, okay? You need statesmanship in that position. But in the case of Biden, clearly he doesn't seem to be as cogent and as lucid as we would like him to be. My bigger point was this. It is a disgrace for the Democratic Party to call themselves progressives when they're virtually begging an 82-year-old man at election time to run for re-election.
Pause. Did you notice what he did there? Notice how he referred to the Democratic Party as progressives. See how the word progressive has been co-opted by the Democratic Party? The Democratic Party are not progressives. They're not. You have a couple of people that refer to themselves as progressive, although the way that they have voted has shown opposite in Congress, members of the squad. But the party itself is not progressive. So do you see how he did that and said that message on Fox News that they're progressive? The Democratic Party is not progressive. The Democratic Party is a center-right party. People really need to get this through their heads. This is why it pisses me off when people refer to the Democratic Party as left. They're not left. Let's continue.
That is the point that I was making. You're supposed to be progressive, right? You're supposed to be moving forward. You're supposed to be thinking forward. You're supposed to be being innovative and younger and all of this other stuff. And you're leaning on the hopes and the prayers of an 82-year-old who would be Joe Biden. He's 80 right now. He'd be going 81. He'll be 82 at the time of re-election if that were to happen. To depend on him is an indictment against the Democratic Party. And the reason I brought up Gavin Newsom is because, listen, I am absolutely positively allergic to the high taxes in California. I can't stand them. To me, the state invents ways to take your money. It's just unbelievable to me. But to watch him sit directly face to face with you, Sean Hannity, and go toe to toe the way that y'all did. It was. I'm going to give you credit where credit's due because it's rare that you deserve it. You know, I love you. It's rare that you deserve credit for what I'm about to say. To sit up there and to have you do an interview sitting directly across from somebody that is opposite of you in terms of ideology. You actually gave him opportunities to speak and to explain himself. I thought that he was as articulate and as forceful and as powerful as any Democrat out there.
So do you see what he did there? He doesn't support Joe Biden. He doesn't support Donald Trump, but don't get it twisted. He still wants to support the Democratic Party. And he believes that Gavin Newsom would be a better option than Joe Biden. He just told you he got a problem with the tax issue in California. And he said the state invents ways to take your money. Now, Gavin Newsom is the governor of California. So how would Gavin Newsom be as president of the United States of America? But here is Stephen A. telling you that Gavin Newsom would be a good idea. And I've heard him say this on other shows as well. So he still want a Democrat. That's why he's on CNN. That's why they bring him on there. Y'all see the game now? This is why they'll bring on Charlemagne the God, because Charlemagne the God, at the end of the day, is still going to support. He told you he's still going to support the Democratic Party, even though he has criticisms of Joe Biden. And he got some mild pushback when he said he was disappointed in Kamala Harris. He got mild pushback, and then he had to walk the whole damn thing back. So you see, that's why Stephen A. Smith will be on CNN to talk about politics. Even though he is a sports commentator, they'll bring him on because they know at the end of the day, he's still going to provide some type of plus for the Democratic Party. He's not going to tell you to leave the two-party system. He's not going to tell you to vote third party. He's not telling you to vote independent. That's why he's there. He's also not a political commentator. So they know he's not as well versed in some of these issues as other political commentators are. He is a sports commentator. That is the game that is played. That is why a lot of these politicians will go on to The Breakfast Club, which is a hip hop radio show, because they know the hosts are not political commentators. They know the hosts are not going to push back in reference to policy, in reference to rhetoric. They will interview conservative politicians and not check them on the bullshit. They will interview Democrat politicians and not check them on the bullshit. They will just nod and go along. Always remember that.
And even you admitted that as you sat across from him.
I couldn't get him. No, the problem is I couldn't get him to admit which is obvious, and that is every day his phone is pinging day and night, morning, noon, and night. They want him to get it.
I remember that.
Listen,
respectfully, yeah, I thought that was a silly question on your part. What's he supposed to do? Sure, he told you he's in the motorcade with President Trump. He told President Biden. He told you he's been at the White House. He told you he communicates with him constantly. Then he's supposed to go on Sean Hannity's show and say, you know what? People are calling me all the time to replace him. Stop that. You know better than that.
Because you and I both know. You and I. Wait a minute. You and I both know that is absolutely 1,000% true. Now, the problem.
Yes.
Look.
Hold on. No. Hold on, Sean.
No,
it's true. It's true. But it's absolutely true. But I know this from Sean Hannity. Every truth ain't made to be told. Now, you don't have to lie, but you ain't telling every truth. Why would he admit that on national television sitting across from Sean Hannity?
Thing that I've said that's not true.
You can't expect him to do that.
You sound like Biden. Now, come on, man.
See how Stephen A. Smith is defending Gavin Newsom? See that?
You know,
I know I don't. You know better than that. I would not do that. And I sound a lot better than Biden.
Boy, you're running as far away from him as you can get. All right,
no, I'm not.
Talk about taxes. Well, all right, and I like Gavin, and he's going to debate Ron DeSantis on this show, which I'm looking forward to.
That's right.
The question is, you know, when you look at the taxes, the highest in the country, when you look at, for the first time, he's the only governor that had a net loss of population. People are flocking out of that state because of burdensome regulation and taxation. You know, you pay $1 more than the national average for gasoline.
I want to answer this.
Okay, I'll put them up on the screen and so my audience can see. All true. Thank you.
All true. What I'm saying to you, however, is this. Somebody named Sean Hannity, my buddy, for nearly 2 decades now, who I know very well, said to me, you can't judge somebody in the immediacy of the moment. The prism of history has to do it. You've said that to me many times. I regurgitated that comment from you many, many times. We know about COVID. We know about the trillions of dollars that have been spent from the previous administration as well as this one. They're all guilty of it. The great one himself, Mark Levin, has acknowledged that nobody's absolved from the spending that has taken place over the last several decades.
I have an exit question then.
You recognize that. You can't just judge Biden off that.
The point that is being made, and I can't believe I'm agreeing with Sean Hannity here, but the point that is being made is that California in particular has a problem. All the people leaving California over the years, leaving and moving to Texas, leaving and moving to Arizona, leaving and moving to Florida, there's a reason why people are getting the hell out of California. It is too expensive. Yes, they have one of the largest homeless populations in the United States. Stephen A. Smith wants to sit up here and defend Gavin Newsom, but these things are happening under Gavin Newsom's leadership. And that's who you think should be president of the United States? No.
I'm putting up all the statistics, Florida versus, California. That's why I think this debate is interesting.
You didn't do that with Gavin Newsom.
I did so. I handed him every single one of these charts that I'm putting up right now. I did right in front of him.
For me to see.
You got to watch that. You can't see.
5 times.
You can watch it later.
Okay.
He didn't watch the full interview because I covered that interview on this show when it happened, and he did go through all of those charts.
Okay, exit question. Name me one policy that he's implemented that you say, wow, that was a great policy and that's helped the state of California.
Uh-oh.
I'm not qualified to make that statement because the reality of the situation is when I look at Biden, I've got a lot of question marks about him. I'm not going to shy away from that.
And that's why they invite him on. You heard what he just said? I'm not qualified to answer that question. All he did was ask, name one policy. Name one policy that he has implemented that you think has been good. And he said, I'm not qualified to answer that. That's why he's on there. That is why he's on there. Stephen A. Smith is great when it comes to sports commentary. I've watched him for years on First Take. He has his own podcast too. I watched that as well. When it comes to sports, I'll listen to Stephen A. Smith. But when it comes to politics, sometimes it's like, what? Oh, man.
Big on immigration. I'm big on national security. I'm big on the economy. And there are question marks with him ad nauseum. There's no doubt about that. But if you are a staunch liberal, you would find yourself very pleased with Biden.
You would support him and you would support. You can't cite a single thing that you would point to and say, wow, we need to duplicate that nationally.
I didn't.
Sanctuary. You want the United Sanctuary States of America?
No sanctuary cities. No, I'm not down for that. I'm not down for the sanctuary cities.
Do you want to give up energy production? No.
Well, it depends. I mean, it's more complicated than that. I wouldn't say no definitively. It depends on how safe it is for the American people.
As of
today.
Take that
into consideration as well. As of today, I don't know the answer to that.
I got to run.
I'm literally telling you what you want me to do.
And that's why he's there. So don't get it twisted, guys. I see a lot of people covering that story of Stephen A. Smith's statement on CNN about Hillary Clinton, which it was correct. What he said was true. But don't get it twisted. It's not like Stephen A. Smith is out here trying to tell you both of these parties are terrible. Don't participate in the two-party system. He still wants to support a Democrat. He just wanted that Democrat to be Gavin Newsom.